Transforming East London is in the name of Assembly Member Jones.
Thank you, Chair.
So I think there are two parts to the question, if I'm right, the cycling side and the community-led housing. Actually, I've read them the opposite way around to how you appear. In relation to cycling, I think there are two or three things we are doing to make sure we are, as you say, seizing the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I think we've got a park with 560 odd acres of what is now sort of public open space with pathways, cycleways and accessible cycle-friendly roadways that is being very heavily used by cycle users. I think there's two specific things we're now doing really to try and maximise that benefit. We've been working with the Mayor's Cycling Commissioner to introduce a quiet way, so there's a new east-west route across the park, allowing cyclists to access the park more easily. I mean, there was a lift and a sort of chute, but it'll enable cyclists to come into the park without having to dismount from the Hackney side, but importantly avoiding the Bow roundabout and the Stratford gyratory on their way in towards London, or depending which way they're going. And I think that's an important scheme that we are progressing later this year. And we've introduced, as I'm sure many of you will be aware, the Santander bike scheme that's now come to the park. We've been installing docking stations since the beginning of the year, beginning of the calendar year. We've got 8 docking stations in place. We've got 300 docking points, so making that cycling infrastructure much more available. But I think the other thing to bear in mind, of course, beyond all that stuff, if you like, is the fact we have got a velo park, which we talked about earlier, to the north of the park, which is an absolute centre of different strands of cycling activity. There's obviously the velodrome as a cycle track, but there's road cycling there, there's the BMX track, there's mountain bike trails. So we've got, I think, a real focus of cycling activity in the north of the park, but trying to make the rest of the park as welcoming and accessible for cycling as possible.
Well, you talk about that, and we were promised a paradise for cycling, but you're apparently going to open up all the park routes to motorised traffic. Now, that does not fit with a paradise for cycling. When's that going to happen?
Well, we're not opening up all the footways and the discrete cycle routes. There's roads, and not all the roads yet have been opened up, so there's roads that will be open up to motorised traffic as well, but I think they have cycle paths as well, and it's not necessary to get up or down or across the park to use them. But
and the quality of cycle paths on these roads with the motorised traffic are going to be of high quality, are they? I mean, they're not going to be a metre squashed against the curb. They're going to be
I believe there are. I think there are high quality cycle path routes there now.
Right. Well, I'm talking about the specific thing you've talked about of opening up to motorised traffic, because if you want a paradise for cycling, clearly you are not going to open it up to motorised traffic, which opens it up to all sorts of potential for conflict.
There are roads that go across the park, which already have motorised traffic. We've got bus routes that run across the park, which are important in terms of, for example, people accessing the jobs that are available, and will be important for the new communities moving into housing. So I'm not going to say we're going to close the roads that are operating. There are one or two that haven't been adopted yet, but broadly there is a network of cycle paths and cycle routes that's very well established, I think, and heavily used.
So when are you going to open up the rest of the roads that you are planning to open up to motorised traffic? When's that going to happen?
I mean, there's discussions with the boroughs in relation to road adoption, so I haven't got a specific date at the moment. I could maybe come back to you in relation to individual roads.
Are we talking this year?
Can I come back to you with?
Okay,
I haven't got a specific date. I don't think. But I think to reassure you, the main road routes are already open. They're being used by buses and cars, but we've got cycle routes that crisscross the park. So that I think.
No, I understand.
Whether it's a paradise or not, but I think it's very accessible and welcoming for cycling.
I'm curious about a feasibility study of improvements to the cycling provision in the Olympic Park that was commissioned by Newham Local Authority, and it was done by John Dales and the Urban Movement Consultancy, and that was due to report in 2015, but nobody's seen sight of that report.
I think I'd have to say, if you're saying nobody has, I think I'd have to say I haven't either. So if that's a report by Newham, then it doesn't sound like it's a report by us. But I'd be happy to follow up if I can get the details of it.
That would be great, because I thought that you were involved in that.
I'm not saying so. Our team work, as we said earlier, very closely with the boroughs. But you described it. It sounds like it's Newham's report rather than our own.
Okay, right. Thank you. I want to move on to the community-led housing. Actually, I am concerned that this is going to be a sort of long, complex process when actually it doesn't need to be, because we already do have the East London Community Land Trust, and they are quite happy to incorporate other people and that sort of thing, instead of setting up a sort of rather long, unwieldy, open tendering process.
Well, I don't think we're anticipating anything long or unwieldy tendering. I think we included the requirement for community land trust in the arrangements we put in place for the developers for Eastwick and Sweetwater. It's part of the brief and part of the procurement to appoint the developers that we did eventually appoint, and we've been working with those partners to take forward a community land trust, and I think we're going to take that forward very soon. The intention is to have an appointment made in this calendar year, so we're not talking about something that's going to take years and years, but we have transparency and value for money obligations that where we are procuring we do have to use public procurement, but I think in this situation we're able to use the arrangements the developer will put in place to bring in a partner that will do it very quickly and efficiently.
You're sure that it's going to be a community-led organisation and not just some sort of facade set up by a developer that looks as if it is?
I think the commitment was to a community land trust that will meet that definition, so yes.
All right.
Totally
now,
sure, yes.
The Mayor in 2012 promised there would be at least 100 homes in this community land trust, but you are only promising 20. So why is that? Why aren't you fulfilling the Mayor's promise?
I think at the time the promise was made, we were looking to deliver some of the homes through the Chobham Manor development that was effectively already contracted. What we're trying to do is honour the Mayor's commitment that there would be a community land trust on the park, and that's what we're delivering through the Eastwick and Sweetwater development. It will have a minimum of 20 units, but I think whether in time we can go further will be something we'll look at.
Because sorry, I don't know which one of you said it earlier. Actually, you said you want to make the whole place more sustainable. Now, the beauty of community-led development is that these houses will be affordable in perpetuity. They're not affordable housing that's only affordable once when they're bought, but they actually continue because the houses are sold back to the Community Land Trust and then sold at an affordable rate again. So can you see that maximising that potential could actually be more sustainable than any of the other options that you're looking at?
I think we can definitely see there are benefits, and that's why we are wanting to include them in part of this development. But I think it's part of I suppose we've got a mixture of tenure, a mixture of types of housing, rented, owned, and affordable rented, that we're trying to introduce. And I think we're trying to make sure this is a part of the offer. And to the extent it shows those benefits, obviously we'd be happy to extend it as we develop further housing in future years.
You don't feel then you can promise me today here that you will actually honour the Mayor's promise? I mean, what's the point of a Mayor making promises if your company is then going to disregard it?
Well, I think the Mayor made a promise to deliver a community land trust on the park, which we are going to honour. What we're not able to do at the moment is reach the number of units that was anticipated.
Why not? I don't understand why not.
I think because delivering a community land trust, in terms of the effectively the impact on the viability of the schemes that we're delivering.
You mean about this comes down to money, does it? So it's not about sustainability, it's not about improving things for London, it's actually all down to money.
No, it's about all of those things and hitting the right balance. If we don't have schemes that can be delivered sustainably, we wouldn't get the housing we want, and we wouldn't actually get a community land trust out of it. So I think we're trying to hit the right balance that enables sustainable schemes that housing developers can deliver, but provide sustainable solutions that provide the housing London needs as best we can, if you like, within the current policy framework we all operate within. And
I might be leaving here, but I'm going to keep an eye on this. I'm going to make your life easier.
Oh, you've been warned by the lady. Assembly Member Duval.